Good afternoon. It's Dr. Becky. I wanted to pop on here quick because I have something really cool to show you. So, a lot of you know we have moved to multiple different bioenergetic devices we are currently using right now. And I teach DNA, which is dynamic neuromuscular assessment. And we are actually having an in-person class, I believe it's October 18th and 19th in Palm Bay, Florida. Registration is open for that. So, those of you who've been following me for quite some time know that I do a completely different form of nervous system muscle testing because muscle testing, there's just a lot of false positives, for lack of a better word. So we teach something called DNA, which uses four modes of response. So it's a little bit more in depth than just yes, no, the muscles on and off. And quite honestly, when we're doing muscle testing, we're not actually testing muscles. You are having a conversation with the nervous system. So, all since about 2020, I have been using the DNA template because it's a template when I look at labs, when I look at even just working with a person in clinic, anything structural, anything physiological, anything limbic, spiritual, emotional, you name it. But it's also how I navigate through bioenergetic reports because depending on what software platform or device you're using, there is just a lot of information. What I currently like about the one that we are using is it makes sifting through that information a little bit easier because it gives you more starting points because it filters things better. It gives you priority. So it's taking maybe 500 things and narrowing it down to maybe the top 15 to 20. And then DNA will narrow it down even more. So that's what I wanted to show you. Kind of what I did here with one of the customers that I'm working with. So this person is complaining of right knee pain. They cannot extend their knee. Now, this has been going on for a few years. I think it's about 2 years. They're starting to get a heel spur on the right Achilles. There's burning in the heel because of the tibial nerve getting trapped. They oftentimes feel twisted because their pelvis is doing some wonky stuff. They've got a right hip that's higher and anteriorly rotated. They cannot put the heel on the ground and they just feel disconnected from the waist down with decreased blood flow. So those are kind of like the general complaints. So if we look here on this scan, and again, this is just using the DNA template. So anything over 600 or red is usually going to be an issue. So in this case, it's going to be high energy. Blue is going to be low energy. Typically, the high energy things are going to be either hypertonic or functional dysfunctional if you're looking at the lens of DNA. And then things that are blue are going to be low energy or hypotonic. So you can see here these numbers are over 600. So these are getting flagged as red. So this is me just pulling out the bits and pieces that I saw in the scan that I did. So we've got vitamin D and K, which obviously has to do with bones. So we know there's some mineral stuff going on. Same thing with silica. And then it says here, even the skeletal system, connective tissue. So I know there's something going on with the bones and the connective tissue. When I come down to ligaments in the knee, hip, and pelvis, we get into the ischiofemoral ligament and sacrospinous. So if you don't know what that is, that's okay. But in my world as a massage therapist and a past physical therapy assistant, these things mean a lot to me because this is putting together the breadcrumbs of what is going on with this person's knee. Because yes, there are knee things going on, but there's also fibula things going on, tibia, and then sacral stuff. Okay, so this is me starting to put the pieces together. If we look over here, we got the PCL. So the PCL is behind the knee. It doesn't look like it's doing much. Okay, it's super low energy. 28 is super low. When we get over here to the right ilium, so when this person lays on the table, you can obviously see that there is a rotation because we got one knee higher than the other and one hip higher than the other. So the right ilium is essentially anteriorly rotated. We have a right fibula that is not moving and actually has a history of a past fracture, which is like insane because that's like unheard of. But if the fibula isn't moving and rotating during gait and accepting all of that force that it should be, and it's locked, then you can see how that locked joint can essentially create a stress fracture in there. And then we even see rotation and gliding showing up in the bone and joint cavities. So again, we're having a hard time gliding the knee. We're having a hard time gliding the tibia and the fibula. And we have issues, obviously, with rotation because of what's going on in the pelvis. And then you can even see here, there's a high priority. Obviously, there's some hidden infections, which that's a whole other PowerPoint because we did see anger and we did see Lyme and some bacteria and fungus coming up. But for this, I just wanted to focus on the structural stuff that I'm seeing. And then bone anatomy, we've got injury, broken bone, and osteoporosis. So that goes back to the vitamin D, K, and silica that's coming up. Okay, but it gets better. So those are the things that we see going on. PCL, osteoporosis, right ilium, right fibula, rotation, gliding. Again, these are all things the client has complained about and actually feels. So now we're seeing it reflected on bioenergetic scanning. So what's going on? Well, from a structural standpoint, we've got the right knee that cannot extend. The PCL is low energy or hypotonic, so there's going to be some posterior instability behind the knee. Posterior tibial glide, I can barely do that on her, which means knee extension is going to be compromised. The fibula has low energy because it can't rotate and accept any weight. So there's going to be poor lateral knee ankle stability. It's also going to affect the peroneals and gait, which she's limping. Okay, she walks on the ball and the toes of her feet. Her heel doesn't go down, walks with a flexed knee. The ischiofemoral and sacrospinous ligaments, they are hypertonic, so they're up in the pelvis, and that is keeping the hips locking to protect instability lower down the chain. Okay, so when something above or below, remember as above, as below, something else has to lock up if there's instability someplace else. The right ilium is high energy. There's pelvic rotation, fixation. Body is trying to splint this instability. So again, the body has to compromise somewhere for either lack of motion or too much motion. Rotation and gliding restriction. The tib-fib joint is not translating like it should be. So this is going to create a shear or like an overload on the Achilles because there's no rotation component. And then that's going to create the heel spur, the burning pain, chronic overload on the plantar fascia. Ischemia is going to, so the tight muscles are going to keep blood flow from going in there, and nerve supply is going to be compromised, hence the burning as well, because we have all those nerves that come out from the sacrum. They come down the glute, down the back hamstring. We got the tibial nerve, sciatic nerve. When the muscles get really tight, it clamps down on those nerves. Okay, so again, we have nerves affected, we have blood flow affected. So basically, the body is locking the pelvis and the hip to protect an unstable knee and ankle. So there is disconnect from the waist down. From a skeletal aspect, there is some osteoporosis going on. Why? Because we have a history of gut issues and inability to absorb nutrients, including minerals. So this is going to create poor bone density. There's going to be poor shock absorption. This is going to also magnify the joint and the ligament strain. Silica, vitamin D, vitamin K are all key for collagen, bone mineralization, and connective tissue resilience. The stomach issues post-surgery are going to impair digestion and absorption. So we're not even getting it in through the gut like we should be. So we've had to change around a lot of things as to what supplements we need to take. Do we need to do more creams? Do we need to do more patches? Do we need to do more sublingual? Because breaking down capsules is going to be too much for the system. Okay, so this is going to equal reduced uptake of silica, calcium, mag, and then the fat-soluble vitamins of D and K. This is going to weaken the bone and connective tissue, and now we're moving into some osteopenia, osteoporosis. So we don't have nourishment because we have some stomach issues going on. Now, from a digestive standpoint, we've had the surgery. There's also going to be some vagus stuff going on as a result of that surgery. There's going to be low stomach acid, which equals poor protein and mineral absorption. Now, the type of surgery this person had they really can't tolerate HCl. So we've switched gears and have increased more enzymes because the enzymes are actually needed before you even start chewing and breaking down your food. And essentially, this person doesn't really have a stomach, so it makes no sense to take stomach acid because the stomach's not really there. So we actually, even though it says low HCl and to take HCl, we've actually switched gears to doing enzymes. This is all tying into feeling disconnected from the waist down, not just mechanical, but also visceral and from an energetic disconnect from the digestion system and then the root system. The bioenergetic or emotional echo. So we've got hypertonic ligaments, which means they're doing this all the time. So they're holding tension, they're guarding, often linked to fear of collapse and not trusting support. You guys know you have a bad back, a bad knee, a bad hip. You're like, is this knee gonna support me? Is this hip gonna, you know, take me when I go on this walk? Is this back gonna support me when I lift the groceries or my grandkids? We've all had those thoughts and feelings. The hypotonic knee and fibula is giving away or lack of stability. I can't stand on this. The heel and Achilles pain is willpower and moving forward. The heel is your foundation and grounding. The spur plus the burning equals blocked forward motion, frustration, and loss of grounding. So, in a bioenergetic lens, this is also what's happening. So, one of the things that we like to teach our students in our school is not just look at things through a lab lens or look at every line item on bioenergetic scans. You have to kind of pan out and look at everything. What's going on structurally? What's going on physiologically? What's going on limbic emotionally? And then what's going on in the spiritual energetic realm? Because all of those pieces feed into what's going on with people. The waist down connection is energetically feeling cut off from the root. And our root chakra is going to be where our stability is, money, finances, survival. The integrated insight. This case is a pelvis, knee, foot chain collapse. There is a hypertonic pelvis. Hip ligaments are bracing. This leads to a hypotonic knee, ankle, and the stabilizers are going to fail. The heel and Achilles is going to get overloaded. There's going to become systemic weakness from poor nutrient absorption. So it's going to affect the vitamin D and K, the silica, the collagen. You're going to start creating some osteoporosis and bone issues. There is also the emotional and bioenergetic imprint of I can't move forward, I don't feel supported. So, what would be some of the directions to give this client? We would be doing some dynamic neuromuscular assessment drills, specifically joint flossing. Today we worked on some heel strike, we worked on some mid gait, and we worked on some toe off. We have not added any fibula rotation yet because that's just too much for the system. So we are moving just in a sagittal plane first, forward and back, to try to get some of the joint mechanics moving before we introduce any type of rotation. We are also moving towards gentle closed chain loading, so some mini squats and bridges. We are practicing Achilles unloading, so doing calf mobility, some foot fascial release. This person is also doing some tibial nerve glides to try to open up that tibial nerve that is getting compressed. Some supplements that we could recommend would be silica, some diatomaceous earth or MSM, vitamin C for collagen, the vitamins D3 and K2. Also make sure you're getting magnesium. Digestive rehab, obviously we're not doing HCl because of the stomach issues, but we are switching to enzymes throughout the day or even bitters. We could do some prints, some frequency support for the root, some grounding, frequencies that have to do with fear of collapse, not being supported. You know, how can we support this person? We can also use frequencies for the bones, as you saw on the Genius scan. All of those frequencies were run, scanned, and optimized for that person. We could also work with the cranial nerves. We've got the accessory nerve and the hypoglossal. Now, I just literally, this is ironic because I just made a bunch of videos for all of the cranial nerves and how to adjust and reset them. So you can find them on YouTube. They're also in the Feel Safe to Heal online course and how to reset your nervous system. I think those are the two courses they're in. If you're in our TND program, that was added into the cranial nerve section. A lot of times cranial nerves will feed into pelvic stability, especially the tongue, which is the hypoglossal. Accessory nerve is going to be all different types of neck movements, which I could have taken photos of them because we did see a lot of issues going on in like C6 and C7. So there definitely is some neck correlation with what's going on with the hips, the ilium, and then everything downstream in the knee and the fibula. So the overall energetic field insight is reading as an identity plus a forward moving block and somatically stored in the lower body. So this is just a snapshot of some of the things that you're going to learn in KQU. This is kind of how we teach our clients to go through client cases, bioenergetic scans. I have roadmaps for just about every condition you can imagine. And if our students need something, I create something for them. This is why I highly recommend everyone learning how to do DNA, dynamic neuromuscular assessment, because it is just a template. It's not another modality. It is a template. So if you're a health coach, functional medicine practitioner, PT, chiropractor, massage therapist, you do energy work, anyone can use this because it really makes it way simpler to try to navigate what is going on with someone, what is the priority, where do we need to start, what are the top issues. And we do this in a way that you're not blowing up the nervous system because that's what a lot of therapies do. It's kind of like throwing paint on the wall and hoping that it sticks kind of thing. So with this, you're very specific in what does the body need right now and is it safe and is it a priority before we move forward. So you're constantly checking in, having that conversation with the nervous system. So hope this helps you guys kind of see, oh my gosh, this is what they do. This is amazing. And I just wanted to kind of give you guys a glimpse of what potentially it looks like when you enroll in our school. What kind of things are you going to learn? Because we don't teach traditional functional medicine and holistic health. We look at everything through a completely different lens. So I hope all of this blesses you, and I hope you all have a beautiful day.